Arguably across the board, the most popular and most loved Doctor is David Tennant's portrayal of the 10th Doctor. How did arguably the most loved Doctor within Doctor Who, aside from maybe the 4th Doctor, become actually currently the most hated Doctor? Let's get into the spin of one of my most popular and one of my first Doctor Who videos, how the most hated Doctor became loved, the 12th Doctor. Of course, when I say that the 10th Doctor is the current most hated Doctor, I am being a little bit hyperbolic here, but he is currently facing tons of hate. Unlike when I covered the 12th Doctor, there's a pretty simple reason for that, and that is the show's over-reliance on David Tennant in particular, and the 10th Doctor incarnation, and really his era in general. It's like the show is completely obsessed with it, which has kind of ruined its speciality in lots of people's eyes. Of course, the 10th Doctor appeared in the 50th anniversary, which makes complete and total sense. It was only a few years after his era had wrapped up, and it was the 50th anniversary of the show, and at that time he was still insanely popular. But of course, during Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor regeneration, David Tennant returned as the 14th Doctor this time. And then of course, when it came back to the 60th anniversary with the 14th Doctor played by David Tennant, Russell T Davies' entire era kind of just came back into the picture. Again, we were seeing the Noble family, Donna Noble, even Wilf made an appearance, which was lovely. I'm somebody who definitely does appreciate the 60th anniversary, and I think a lot of people love episodes like Wild Blue Yonder, which is a fantastic standout episode. But it very much felt like the confidence in the show was dwindling, and that, this was a last-ditch effort to try and boost ratings, to try and boost the show again. And of course, I think here you've got a bit more of an excuse. This is again an anniversary, so it does make sense for a previous Doctor in some way, shape or form to return, but of course this is a brand new concept. The 13th Doctor regenerates into a former face. David Tennant's 14th Doctor then regenerated, or should I say bigenerated, into Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor. Now already you're kind of overshadowing the brand new revival of your brand new era and your brand new Doctor with a previous actor who played a previous Doctor. But now of course, as we all know, Ncuti Gatwa then regenerates at the end of his very, very short era into Billy Piper. The start and end of his era, he was overshadowed by Russell T Davies' first era. And this of course has caused a bit of controversy, and lots of people have been bringing up how the show just can't seem to let go of its past. The past of that Russell T Davies quote-unquote golden era of the show, and more importantly, David Tennant. Of course, this gets even more egregious because one of Ncuti Gatwa's episodes in the same series that he regenerates into Billy Piper is a direct sequel to one of the most popular David Tennant episodes, Midnight, where we even see a flashback to David Tennant in that episode. And not only that, but of course in Ncuti Gatwa's first series, during the trailers, there was this just shot of David Tennant's floating head. Like I said, this was used in trailers. It very much shows that there is a lack of confidence in the current show without David Tennant. There's an over-reliance on this nostalgia of his Doctor, which a lot of fans have come to resent. And yeah, they love his Doctor, but at the moment he's very much hated because we're just overseeing him 24/7. I mean, over the past couple of years, even in expanded media and other stuff outside of the main show, he's been everywhere. In games, in comic runs, everywhere you look, David Tennant as the Doctor has been, even overshadowing a lot the 13th Doctor. People are getting sick of tired of this over-reliance on RTD's initial era, and especially David Tennant. Everywhere you look, you see his Doctor, or him playing a version of the Doctor, and people are just getting sick and tired of it. People want to move forward, not consistently looking back. 50th anniversary you can completely overlook. That is a great appearance of David Tennant's Doctor, and if it was just left at that, nobody would be complaining or would be talking about it to this extent. The 60th anniversary to a certain extent as well, as more controversial as that is, a lot of people did enjoy that and understood why they were doing it. But this over-reliance on this initial era, David Tennant, people like Billy Piper, it's caused a lot of resentment towards that era, and lots of resentment for newer fans who just want to move forward with the show and not consistently look back, which is currently what the show is doing. Currently relying on nostalgia, currently relying on stunt casting to try and boost the show up in ratings, which is incredibly unfortunate because the show has a bright future, but it's consistently looking back and using actors like David Tennant. Even in other Doctor's runs, the face of Doctor Who, seemingly in expanded media and other places, is always David Tennant. He always crops up in some type of major way, especially in the most recent years. The over-reliance on him in advertisement for the show, in other properties, just makes it hard to escape him, which has built, like I've said, this huge resentment towards his Doctor, unfortunately, and it's kind of ruined the speciality of his era. There's a common thing going around at the moment that lots of people genuinely do believe that the show just only celebrates this version of the Doctor. I mean, even in the most recent Unleashed episode, which is celebrating the 20th anniversary since Doctor Who returned, there was such a heavy focus on David Tennant's era. And of course, I know David Tennant's era is what made the show such a juggernaut that it was during that period, but doctors like Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor barely got a look in. It feels like the show is stagnant, especially with the return of Billie Piper, and a rumour that is currently circulated which has only boosted this sentiment towards the 10th and 14th incarnation of the Doctor, or just David Tennant's role in Doctor Who as a whole, with the potential of the 14th Doctor returning for a couple of specials or a special alongside Billie Piper. Regardless if this is the case or not, if this is something that genuinely does happen, it has sparked backlash, controversy. Lots of people saying that they are sick and tired of seeing Russell T Davies's first era just plastered over the show, the nostalgia of the quote-unquote good old days, instead of actually trying to craft something that will be future nostalgia. Constantly bringing David Tennant back and people from this era ruins that era. It ruins the speciality of that era. Take the 60th anniversary, something that, to be honest, I did enjoy for the most part, but certain aspects, especially in the episode like the Star Beast, ruined significant plot points and moments for Series 4 that, when looking back, is kind of awkward when you know how that eventually gets resolved randomly in the 60th anniversary. Of course, let's be real here. The 10th Doctor will never be the most hated Doctor. For a lot of people that may not follow the show, David Tennant is still very much the face of the Doctor, something that the show keeps constantly feeding into to try and get old viewers back into the show. People are currently hating on David Tennant in this era because of the show's over-reliance. It feels like it's stagnating. People are fed up and sick and tired of consistently seeing this Doctor. Give him a break. Give him a rest. His era is over. People want new things. People want to have the show change. That's what the show is about. Change, ultimately, not consistently revisiting the past, which it feels like the show is stuck in this cycle, which has led to this hate, which has made the 10th Doctor at the moment pretty hated. And I do think by consistently bringing back that era, not only can the show not move past something that happened almost 20 years ago, but I also do feel like it tarnishes certain moments, certain scenes, the era as a whole. Maybe for some people, to see the characters that they loved back then constantly dragged through the mud, maybe put in bad stories or use the stunt casting to continue to boost the show. Look, that is ultimately why at the moment the 10th Doctor has gone from the most beloved Doctor in many people's eyes to the most hated. The over-reliance the show has on this Doctor, the constant use of his era, of companions, of him as David Tennant. Some people are just sick and tired of it, and it's very showing that the show just genuinely can't move on from this or its own history, something that's evident by the constant use of people like Omega, Thorani, but of course I think this era's over-reliance on RTD1 is the most egregious. I do hope the show moves on at some point, but because of Billie Piper's return, I very much can't see that. And I'm very interested to see if these rumours of David Tennant also returning yet again are actually true. If there are any validity to these said rumours, if there are, I'll be very disappointed, and I think this video would have aged pretty well. But everybody watching, what's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on David Tennant as the 14th Doctor, as the 10th Doctor, and of all of this? Please feel free to comment down below. Once you're done there, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a future upload. But I've been your host Samuel, and I'll catch you in the next Doctor Who video. Goodbye.